of the major seminary of the religious mission institution of the Apostle Jesus. The Reverend Veronica, representing the Evangelical Sisters of Mary, representing the Superior General of Evangelical Sisters of Mary, and the contemplatives of the Heart of Christ, represented by some who are here. And the regional superior Kenya, the very Reverend Father Isaac Agiri, present amongst us here. And all protocol observed. Brothers and sisters, welcome. And I greet you in the name of Jesus Christ, the Lord.
Amen.
Father, I already told you about this book. And I think I don't have anything to elaborate now. It is certain that the book, the substance is Father John Marigon. He wrote this book. What Father Alex did, as he has told you here, he has to compile the material that the Father had done to compile as one who was working in the archives. And I want to thank him very and very much. It is just in 2020 that he came to the archives and he started to do this work. I want to thank you, Alex, very much for that. So Alex, in this book, all right, made a compilation, and as he said, did some editing, but the substance is Father John Marigon. Yes, he did the forward. You will read that. He did the forward, and I did the preface. So this is the only work that we have done. The rest is Father John Marigon. Please, let us be sure of that. Let us make sure it is therefore a treasure. It is a treasure for these congregations. This book is a true treasure. For I said, especially for those studying in the major seminary, beginning even from postulancy up to then, and then of course for us, the members. This book is a treasure. For me, it's a treasure. Let us try to do it. We read it so that we can really live. He spoke, of course, priesthood and virginity. Virginity is positive. What he said, when it is positive, it's not negative. It is positive. And therefore, as positive, it's a positive experience of someone who loves God. It is a positive experience of God and nothing else. Positive experience of God. It is not something negative, no. It is not a denial, no. But it is an affirmation of our own love for God. Affirmation. So I am a virgin because I love God. It's an affirmation. So it is something very substantial there. And Marigon put that virginity as the substance of our own consecrated love to God, as of our own holocaust to God. I would say it is even the first. The rest, like poverty and obedience, will be just an accessory, just to aid us to be more and more loving God and the neighbor. Yes, dear brothers, that is what Marigon is saying in this book here, and we want to understand it. The one who is speaking to you is speaking from a living source, existing source, primary source, so to say. I know these two men, Bishop Stephen Masoni, very Reverend John Marigon, when I was just very, very young. I have deep spiritual connection with these people, personally. Why? Bishop Stephen Masoni baptized me and confirmed me when I was just 6 years of age. There in South Sudan in 1954. He baptized me and he confirmed me. Father John, as I told him, we heard from the interview, John, I knew him at the age of 10 when I went to Emmanuel Seminary. At the age of 10, until he died in Italy. And I was there in his own side when he died in 2007. About a period of 70 years. 70 years I been with John Marangoni. So what I'm going to talk about John Marangoni is from my personal experience, so that all of us may share together really what this man has done for us, what Sister Masoli has done for the church, for us all. These are, I would say, these are evangelizing giants, giants of evangelization, giants of evangelization. Truly, I have not heard someone found 5 congregations, 5 congregations. Maybe Alberion, I don't know how many Alberion did he give out. Alberion, do you know Alberion?
Also 5.
5? Also 5, okay. But these people founded 5 giants of evangelization. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, I am talking of some people that I know. And what I'm going to tell you is what I have experienced in these people. As an introduction, today is truly a great day in the life and history of the Institute of the Apostles Jesus and the wider family of the Institute of the Apostles Jesus, founded or co-founded by great religious missionaries and ordained men of God, giants of evangelization. Right Reverend Bishop Sister Masoli and Father John Marangoni combined missionaries to the then Sudan and original East Africa. As I also remarked in the preface of the book, of this book there, the preface, you will read the preface, that it is I who has written it. I feel very honored and privileged to make a presentation about the first book by Father Marangoni, compiled after his death on the 27th, 2007. I heartily and fraternally thank Father Alex Mutahigwa, compiler and editor, of inviting me to do this presentation. Father, thank you very much. I think our relationship is even stronger now than before. Yes. I will say this presentation are to be found in the preface to the book, because the principal function of a preface is to present and comment on the book in question. I do this because since today is the launching of the book, most of you are not aware of what is in the preface. Yes, when we are presenting this book, we are not presenting only for this group. We are presenting for the whole, for the whole, family, Sister Marangoni family. We are presenting for all, so that you know that these people did great things for us. Did great things for us. These 2 men are giants of evangelization. Consider the rock you are hewn from, a quarry from which you are cut. This is Isaiah 51, verse 1. Consider the rock you are hewn from, and the quarry from which you are cut. My dear brothers and sisters, here present, the Apostle of Jesus, the evangelizing sisters of Mary, and the contemporary evangelizer of the heart of Christ, they were founded or were hewn and cut from the rock that was very reverend for John Marangoni, their charismatic founder. All of us were hewn from the rock, and this rock is the life of Father John Marangoni. From the quarry, and this quarry is Father John Marangoni. The Spirit of the Lord inspired John to write all the constitutions of the three religious, missionary, and priestly institutes. He taught them by his reading the constitutions. Indeed, John had a strong iron will to do always the will of God in establishing the three institutes for the salvation of Africa and the world. The members should not and must not, I say, the members should not and must not deviate from the way the charismatic founder showed them through his foundation labors, teaching, and live examples. I myself am a stone from that rock. That is Father John Marigoni. And the query, that is the Institute of the Apostle Jesus, not only by my vocation to the religious, missionary, and priestly life, but also by my very history, my life history as a South Sudanese who lived in the mission field where Father John did missionary apostolate. I am a citizen or a native of South Sudan. I was born in South Sudan. I was raised up in South Sudan. And I was educated in South Sudan, in Uganda, and briefly in Rome, and in London, briefly. So I am a little bit of an expert in the spirituality. Right? So if I say something of spirituality, it is from the expertise I have got. Overview of the life of the father, John Marigoni. I'm really very happy to talk about John Marigoni. As I say, he is my father. He brought me up. Father John mentored me in the Catholic faith from the time I was only 10 years old when I met him at Okaru Mano Seminary in the then Sudan and today part, that is the Republic of South Sudan. In our Holy Catholic faith, he taught me to believe in the Most Holy Trinity. Then he taught me about the second divine person of the Most Divine Trinity, that is Jesus Christ. Father John, through Father John, I came to know Jesus Christ, to love him, to follow him, to be religious, missionary, and priestly life. Giuseppe Marigoni, John was born to very religious and pious parents. Their father was called Giuseppe Marigoni, and the mother Adele Casati, on the 18th of January 1922, in a parish and village of Tresano Rosa. I have been in this place, I think several times, to this village. I saw also the tombs of his parents. In the province of Milan, northern Italy. He was baptized on the very day of his birth and given the name Giovanni Marigoni. At the age of 7, he received his first Holy Communion at the age of 7. And at the age of 11, on the 7th of October 1933, the feast of Our Lady of the Rosary, he entered the Mano Seminary, Missionary Seminary of the Sons of the Sacred Heart, today called Comboni Missionaries, and received a seminarian's cassock. I also received my cassock at the age of 10 when I entered the cassock. So I love very much my cassock and I wear it every time. You know? And we should do that. We should do that, brothers and sisters. We love our own cassock because it is a sign of our own consecration. It is a sign of our own holocaust to the Lord. That is it. On October 7th, 1940, John made his first religious missionary vows. On the 20th of April 1946, he was ordained priest in Rome. Father John studied for and obtained a doctorate degree in dogmatic theology at the Gregorian University in Rome, Italy. He came to Africa in the Sudan in 1953. He teamed up with Bishop Sisto Masoli, who was then just 1 year as the Bishop of Bahar Jebel, Vicariate, which is now the Dayos of Juba, around Juba in the south of Sudan. Bishop Sisto Masoli assigned Father John to a parish for 4 years, did the parish work, pastoral work, for 4 years, and then sending him to Okaru Minor Seminary in 1957. In 1957, he went to Okaru Minor Seminary. Meanwhile, I went in 1958 to meet him there in Okaru. It's a seminary up the hill, about 3 kilometers up the hill. 3 kilometers you have to go. And the road is meandering until you reach there. Maybe one day, if some of you go to Sudan, South Sudan, they can go and see it there. Father John did missionary formation ministry in the Sudan and East Africa. Most of his own missionary ministry is formation. That's what I will tell you. Formation. He dedicated himself completely to formation. Even this book is maybe the fruit of that work. He formed cardinals. He formed archbishops. He formed bishops. Then he formed priests. And he formed religious, both men and women. This was the work of this man. For which we say we should collect many of his own workings, so many of his own writings. And as again say, Father Mutahigwa, thank you very and very much for this work. From 1967 till his death on the 27th July 2007, Father John did missionary formation ministry in the Sudan and East Africa. And in March 1964, all foreign missionaries were expelled from Sudan, from South Sudan. In 1965, Bishop Sisto Masoli and Father John Manigoni relocated to northern Uganda for their missionary activity. Sisto Masoli became the Bishop of Moroto, Catholic Diocese, while Father John taught dogmatic theology, spirituality, and documents of Vatican Council II at La Chon Major Seminary in Gulu Diocese, now Archdiocese of Gulu in northern Uganda. From his original notes, most of which I personally read, as provided by Father Alex Mutagigwa, he got them there, you see, in the office. The compiler and the editor of this book, it is clear that the current book is a product of Father John Manigoni's long service and experience in the seminary teaching and formation, plus his own long, faithful, and prophetic living of the religious, priestly, and missionary vocation. As I say, what I'm saying is a synthesis of this, just a synthesis. A review of and a comment on some key notes on the book, my God. The book Priesthood and Virginity plus the Heart of the Good Shepherd is the testimony to be lived. Concrete life of Father John in the church, in Africa, missionary fields in the world. He lived an authentic human, religious, priestly, and missionary life to its fullness. On virginity, Father John insisted on sincere, honest practice of continence. And for him, this consisted in total, absolute abstinence from any sexual expression in thought, in word, in action. Total abstinence from conjugal love, married love, conjugal love, nor as fatherhood or motherhood. Total free from this. It is a life that imitates the very life of Jesus Christ, the very life of the Blessed Virgin Mary and of Saint Joseph. Perfect life, perfect natural life, perfect natural life, human life. I am a virgin because I love God, and my whole life is to love God, and I don't lose anything. I don't lose anything, as I said before. It is positive, a positive experience of how I love God and I love the neighbor. It is not a denial, as I said before. It's not a renunciation, but it is an affirmation that I love God. The love of God is full in me. It is full in me. It's complete. I don't have any other thing to do. Only that fullness of the love of God for me. And that is my virginity, and I live it. Father John Marigoni taught his spiritual children to offer themselves as total self-gift of love to God and to belong to Him totally as an Holocaust. And a Holocaust in the Old Testament was a young bull of 1 year old or a goat of 1 year old to be killed, completely to be burnt, completely burnt for God, and nothing else. Burnt! Nobody has to touch it. That is an Holocaust. And you and I, by virginity, our virginity, we are Holocausts. For whom? For love of God. We are Holocausts for God. That is our own life. That is what Marigoni has taught you, has taught me, has taught all of us. Some people may be rather disturbed or perplexed by the title of the book. I can testify from personal experience as a major seminarian that Father John preferred to talk of and teach or preach about celibacy and consecrated chastity, preferred to use the term virginity. Even when he was well aware he was addressing himself to seminarians, consecrated brothers or priests. Right? When I was just a young priest, rather, a young priest of maybe 5 years away, I was there in Juba. I was coming from Rome after my studies of spirituality. And I was in Juba there for about 2-3 days. A young girl of 18 years. You know, the beauty of a young girl of 18 years is stunning. You know, she came and said, look, I love you. I love you. Yeah. Do you know me? Yes, I know you. That's why I come to you. I love you. I want to get married to you. You want to? Okay, are you serious? Yes, I'm serious. But do you know who am I? Yes, you are a priest. Why not? You are a priest, but priest. There are priests who marry. Why not? Why not you? That's okay. Dear little girl, look, you are talking very interesting. Look, let us stop it. Come another day. Come tomorrow morning. Please come tomorrow morning, and we'll continue the conversation. It's a very interesting conversation. You know what? The following morning, early morning, I took the plane from Juba to Tentebbe. And that was all. I think I have not maybe she died or what, I don't know. That is it. Listen, brothers, sisters, once we have given ourselves to the Lord, it is irrevocable. Irrevocable. It's for life. It's for life. As it is remarked at the back caption of the book, Father John preferred to use the term virginity rather than chastity as a way of challenging seminarians, and later his spiritual sons and daughters to live the vow of chastity, the vows in general, the ordained priesthood to the highest virtue and spiritual perfection possible, aided by the grace of God. Sure. This is concretely shown and proved by the photo of the exercise book in which he wrote the notes about the topic, and notebook itself is titled Virginity. He has already told you those books. Called Virginity. These are his own notes. Father John Marigoni was truly exemplary in living a religious life, and he lived it priestly, missionary, in great heroism. He was irreproachable in living his public life. During his long formation and missionary service, he received hundreds and billions of money, especially in terms of Uganda savings, from friends and benefactors in Europe and America, but he used it only and solely to develop the religious missionary institutes he co-founded with Bishop Cecil Masoli, or founded alone. These congregations or institutes are the Apostles of Jesus, co-founded with Bishop Cecil Masoli in 1968, near Moroto town in Moroto Catholic Diocese in northern Uganda. Evangelizing Sisters of Mary, founded by him in 1976, and the Amala again in Moroto Catholic Diocese. The Contemporary Evangelizers of the Heart of Christ, founded by him in 1986. In 1986, Nakuru Catholic Church, Catholic Diocese of Nakuru. But there are other two institutes founded by Bishop Cecil Masoli, his fellow ongoing missionary and great friend, which were also very close to the heart of John Marigoni. And these are the Sacred Heart Sisters, founded in 1964 in the then Southern Sudan, now the Republic of South Sudan. The Brothers of St. Martin the Porres, founded in 1957, also in the south of what was then the Sudan. I believe some members of these five congregations who are here with us. I think we have said them. They are here with us here now. Thank you very much for your presence. Yes, as I say, we are launching this voice for all these congregations, and even for the priests, other priests, and other those people who are interested in it. And because we are in the church, we are in a universal church. Father John was a very faithful disciplined, even ascetic religious missionary, priest. He had very ordinary food, clothing, room, furniture, no private car, no private bank account. Look at this man. No private car, no private bank account. He did not drink alcohol or smoke. And all his work, this was for the love of God and the neighbor, especially for his spiritual children. Yeah, all of whom were black Africans of sub-Saharan region. Father John was an ascetic to the core, and this book tells it all. So when he teaches about the vows and celebrates missionary apostolate, he talks from his own strong prophetic example. Many of his confreres, the Kumbori missionaries, especially those I have personally known, honestly testify that John Marigoni was a good priest, a religious priest, a missionary priest. I was in Italy. I went to their own place there, to their center in Rome. And there, I think during the lunch and so on, there was a conversation there. Some of his own confreres, they saw that I didn't know Italian. They were talking about Marigoni. And one of them came, when he founded the last congregation, the contemplative, he said, questo maricone è matto. You know, in Latin say, this maricone, this John is very mad. He's going around founding congregations, mad. I said, mad? This is what they were saying. This man is mad. He has founded this, he has founded this. What does he want to do now? He's just mad. And mad man. Is Marconi mad? Was he mad? This was some of them, or a few of them were saying about John Marconi. But that is to show you Marconi was an authentic missionary. An authentic missionary. This is what I'm telling. Father John was an ascetic to the core, and this book tells it all. So, when he teaches about the vows and the selfless missionary apostolate, he talks from his own self-experience as a true, genuine missionary, a holy priest. With regard to virginity, Father John talked out and led by example from my own experience of when I met him at the age of 10 till his death on the 27th of July, 2007, I can confidently say the very Reverend Father John Marconi lived a very bright, virginal life. Father John himself writes, the root and fruit of virginity is a sacrificed life. A virgin is a victim, a holocaust of chastity. A virginity is equal to martyrdom. Virginity is equal to martyrdom. And that is what convicts Father John. As I said in my interview with Father Alex, Father John Marconi is a very good example. And a good example of the converted missionaries I met when I was young greatly influenced my vocation to religious, missionary, and priestly life. Indeed, at first, I wanted to join the converted missionaries until Father John captured me to be among the first candidates and members of the Institute of the Apostle of Jesus in 1968. I was finishing the third year theology at that time, and we were 6 of us who studied the novitiate. 6 of us, including one priest. Now, I think it remained only one person. The rest all died, unfortunately. The magisterium of the church, or the Catholic Church, established the Catholic priestly celibacy and inspiration of the Holy Father, of the Holy Spirit, and following Jesus' own example. It is a charism or spiritual grace and gift to be accepted with faith and joy. But priestly celibacy in no way undermines or undervalues sacramental merit and marital love. Marital love and celibate love are both motivated by the love of God and neighbor. It is only that the manner of loving God and neighbor in the two callings or vocations is different. In the marital love, the love of God is mediated through the spouses, while in the celibate love, in the virginal love, it is directly oriented to God. Only God. Both can attain to hide something second. Hence, in his discussion and exhortation of virginity and the vows, the author does not undervalue married love and life. The pontificate of John Paul II, for instance, canonized how many more married people than any other pontificate in the history of the Catholic Church. So it means that both ways of life are good. With regard to human sexuality, our human sexuality, Father John affirms that it is the most powerful energy in the human person. It is the most powerful. And that it can serve for both good and bad. I can use my sexuality for bad things. I can use my sexuality for good. For the religious consecrated with the vow of chastity, and for the actual priest with the promise of celibacy, sexual energy can be a great challenge, surely. However, Father John teaches that prayer and sacrifice can help conquer the negative aspects of human sexuality. He teaches that the relationship between man and woman should be based on mutual love, guided by respect and trust. His strongest exhortation to seminarians and consecrated persons in the event of sexual temptation or danger occasioned by the encounter between the sexes, both sexes was, and even is, as we have seen in the interview. And I repeat here. You see, this was one given to me when I was just 10 years of age. Fugge quito, semper el longe. Run away quickly. Always far. These words are still ringing in me. At the age of 10 years, I was being taught these words by John Marigoni. Because of this well-known exhortation, some people accuse Marigoni of misogyny. Misogyny is a hatred of women. Did Marigoni hate women? Now look those ones here. So it is a myth. It is a myth. The truth of the matter is that Father John recognized the power of sexual energy and the potential to misuse it, and he has cautioned his spiritual children to be discreet and prudent in their relationship with the opposite gender, to safeguard their consecrated missionary and priestly life. For a religious, for me, as a consecrated person, to befriend a woman, friendship with a woman, is ambiguous. It's ambiguous, very ambiguous. Because a friendship is the normal way of getting married. If you want to marry, you befriend a woman. You befriend a girl. That's the normal way. So for me as a religious, to befriend a girl or a woman, to be friends, is very ambiguous. And so that is the prudence we must have. Father John Marigoni and the heart of the Good Shepherd. Yes, all our congregation are there, the heart of the Good Shepherd. Our spirituality, our charism is drawn from the heart of the Good Shepherd. Look how Marigoni talking about. And we have got a representation of our eyes there. The author treats this topic at length when making it a subtitle of the books is justified. Let us remember that Father John's own institute, the Comboni Missionaries, is dedicated to the heart of Christ, the Sacred Heart. In Italian language, the abbreviation is MCCMJ. We would translate as Missionari Comboniani di Cuore di Gesù, means Comboni Missionaries of the Heart of Christ. Hence, in imparting this devotion to the institutes he co-founded or founded, he was growing from a lived experience. He experienced it. He experienced the heart of Jesus. And that sustains him. He got from Jesus. But we take Jesus as the personal Jesus. It's not something in the air, but a personal Jesus who was saved, who was virgin. Father John writes at the length about him. And so this is the heart of the Good Shepherd, who lays down his life for his sheep, for the salvation of the world. It is a selfless heart that gives life, spiritual life, eternal life, at the cost of his own life. A love like this, no one has, that someone gives his own life for him, for another one, and that is Jesus Christ. We are now celebrating Paschal mystery. What is Paschal mystery? It's a mystery of love. A mystery of love. That Jesus emptied himself in order to give us life. For this, it is a perfect model, the exemplar of pastors, of missionaries, of those aspiring to saintly life. Yes, we must be missionaries. Yes, evangelizers. In the heart of Jesus Christ, evangelizers. In the heart of Jesus Christ. I was telling the sisters when I preached there in Kenya, say you are evangelizers to the core. Evangelizers to the core. And that's your life is just to evangelize. Evangelizers to the core. Drawn from the heart of Jesus. If it is necessary even to die for your own sin, like Jesus Christ. The author singles out this chapter 10 of the Gospel of John as encapsulating the selfless love and pastoral and missionary spirit of the heart of Christ, the Good Shepherd. This heart is also symbolized by the pierced heart of Christ, crucified, and the reality of his sacrifice and graces is sacramentally continued in the sacrament of the Holy Eucharist. The Holy Eucharist is the permanent love of God for humanity. The permanent love of Christ for humanity. The Eucharist. Permanent. It is started from incarnation. The incarnation, the redemption, and the Eucharist. That is the love of Jesus Christ for humanity. And that is what John taught us. For the other, good shepherds, especially missionary, good shepherds should do everything totally selflessly and perseveringly for the love of God and of his people, and see after the example of the good shepherd, that is Jesus Christ, who gives up his life on the cross for the sheep, for their salvation. He rises to drive the body home. This total vertical love brought Jesus to the total sacrifice, to lay down his life out of pure love, total freedom for us. Love always gives life. Perfect, total, vertical love gives divine life. And that is what we want to do, my brother, my sister. That is what we want to do, and let's be happy about it. It is a gift from Jesus Christ, a gift from the heart of Jesus Christ, from the heart of the Good Shepherd. The heart of the Good Shepherd is an eminently obedient, chaste, and poor heart, source and model of consecrated life. It is a heart of sublime and brightly shining chastity, calling and challenging consecrated persons to an ambiguous and strongly prophetic chastity and virginity. It is a heart totally detached from self-interest, in love of the Father and of the sheep that must be gathered in unity and love in the saving sheepfold. The church, we are to collect people to the church in unity. I want to spread about the unity in the heart of Jesus Christ. Contemplative, you are united in the heart of Jesus Christ. Evangelizers, you are united in the heart of Jesus Christ. If Apostle Jesus, you are united in the heart of Jesus Christ. Sacred Heart of Jesus, you are united in the heart of Jesus Christ. St. Martin the Porter, you are united in the heart of Jesus Christ. That is the source of our own unity, and nothing else. Brother, sister, our unity is one. It's indivisible. Indivisible. We don't have to consider the circumstances of our own existence. Whether you are South Sudanese, or Kenyan, or Ugandan, or Tanzanian, or different tribes, that doesn't matter for me. I know that you are an apostle of Jesus. You are an evangelist sister of Mary. You are a contemplative evangelist of the heart of Christ. You are a Sacred Heart sister. You are the poorest and mighty, the poorest brother, united in the heart of Christ, the Good Shepherd. Full stop. With regard to selfless service, in the life of a Good Shepherd, in the life of a religious, missionary, priesthood, there is a word that is used over and over again, and Margoli used it. That word is mercenary. Mercenary. You know, mercenary, the one who's working for money, who wants only money. We must not be mercenaries. Apostles here must not be mercenaries. Evangelist sisters must not be mercenaries. Contemplatives must not be mercenaries. The poorest must not be mercenaries. Sacred Heart of Dear must not be mercenaries. A mercenary is just a subject who loves only self-interest. Alright, my brother, my sister, we are not mercenaries. To indicate living our vocation, doing apostolic work material, this is mercenary. Doing a work financial or other gains. For him, a good shepherd is never a mercenary. It's never a robber. A good shepherd has great trust in Christ. Clearly, this is right. This he writes. True shepherds exert perfect justice with and for the sheep. A good shepherd is never a killer. It's never a mercenary. He labors or she labors with disinterestedness, not demanding a salary, hence not a mercenary. He labors for the sheep like Jesus Christ, protecting them from any wolf, internal or external. These are the good shepherd. That is what we follow. And nothing else. Finally, the heart of the good shepherd is an eminently praying heart in all its love and activity. It is a heart of exceptionally deep and devout contemplative prayer because it is mystically united with the Father in divine love and in the redemptive mission of the only and beloved Son in the power of the Holy Spirit. This mystical contemplative prayer is beautifully manifested in the priestly prayer of Jesus in chapter 17 of the Gospel of St. John. And Father John says that the first day of duty of a religious, a priest, a missionary is to pray. To pray in order to be in loving union with God, and from this grow the grace to live faithfully one's vocation. In talking about prayer, within the context of the charism of the Apostle Jesus and of the evangelists and the old contemplative and others, Father John explains with the obvious emphasis, O Apostles of Jesus, O evangelists of Mary, O contemplative, O Sacred Heart, O the poor, you are founded and exist, first of all, to be people of prayer. People of prayer. A priest who does not pray is a mediocre priest. Mediocre, and to say the least. The people know that the priest must pray. They should expect the priest to pray, or the religious to pray. That is the life of a consecrated person. Anyway, in our constitution, we have everything very clear. The book of the constitution we have brought it there. Yesterday I met a young priest also in his office, and he said, Father, I succeed because of this. And he showed me the book of the constitutions. I succeed because of this book. This book is great. And Father John Marigoni led by example, for he was a great model to his spiritual children. Indeed, he was a sincere and authentic spiritual man of much prayer and deep union with God. A mystic. I can say that Father John was a mystic by his spiritual, priestly, and missionary lifestyle. He was celebrated. He celebrated the daily Holy Mass and the Holy Eucharist was so dear. What was so dear to him? The Eucharist. He never missed the Eucharist. He loved and venerated the Blessed Virgin Mother of God. As a priest, he always prayed the whole daily liturgy for the hours of bravery. And I appeal to our own priest. And I appeal to the priest, please, let us say the bravery. They are in the bravery. You are the source of spirituality. Take for instance the first prayer, no? The prayer of the readings. There you can learn from those authors, the great fathers of the church, from the Eastern fathers until to the Western fathers, the writings, the spirituality of the Cappadocian fathers, Saint Chrysostom, Saint Basil, Saint Gregory, Saint Ignatius, and you come to Saint Augustine, you come to Saint Ambrose. How beautiful you can get from there, please. Don't miss the prayer of the readings, the prayer of the readings. Please don't miss it. Please, I beg you. You get a source, a deep source of spirituality there. In any case, according to the law, to the canon law, we are supposed to say the whole bravery every day. The whole bravery. Is that okay? He always celebrated Mass, yes, the bravery. The prayer of the church. That is the prayer of the church, that was true. And he strongly exhorted his religious, missionary, priests not to miss praying the bravery. Not to miss that. My friend, my fellow priest, please, my fellow priest, let us pray the bravery. It will help us. It will help us. The Guide to Prayer book of the Religious Mystery Institute of the Apostle Jesus is a minor charter, or a greater charter, a minor charter for us. Apostle Jesus. I should have brought mine. It is already dated, but I should have brought it. I pray that every day. Every day. It's a beautiful prayer book. Very beautiful prayer book. All those who come upon that book, the outsider, admire it and they want to have it. You see, in fact, we get there in our place, the Ginger. And a certain moment they stole them all. They took them all. Do you see that? Because they loved it very much. So don't leave it. That is our prayer. He composed it as the main and official prayer book of the Apostle Jesus. He exhorted the Apostle Jesus members to greatly value communitarian and personal prayer. Communitarian personal prayer, brother, sister, please, communitarian personal prayer. This is what he was telling us every time. And we do it in church, together, as a community, and as personal prayer for us. Do we do that? Do we do that, my brothers and sisters? Pray. This is what John exhorted us so strongly. And he says that Apostle Jesus members want to pray together in a community, in church. And he said this is a sound tradition, a patrimony to the Institute. Please let us try to do that. In his instruction on prayer, Father John stressed the daily celebration of the Eucharist. The daily Eucharist, my priest, our priest. The daily Eucharist, please. The daily Eucharist. And not, let alone the Sunday Eucharist. The daily Eucharist for a priest is a must. At least for the Apostle Jesus and the contemplatives there. It's a must. Please, the daily Eucharist. Frequent reception of the sacraments, especially the Eucharist and the penance. The liturgy of the hours, of bravery. Again, the Word of God in the Holy Scripture, meditated and reflected on and prayed as a lectio divina or holy reading. Before I celebrate the Mass, I must read the Word of God. I must prepare the Mass. And so it is maybe some 30 minutes before I celebrate the Mass. Some people, when they just get up in the morning, they go to the sacristy, and they fast, and they go to say the Mass. Without any preparation whatsoever. How do they celebrate the Mass? Prepare your Mass. Prepare by a deep reading of the Word of God. A lecture given on the Word of God. So that when you go for the Mass, you are communicating with Christ. You are communicating with Christ. That is a very special time in which you are with God. What is during the Golden Jubilee, one of the Golden Jubilee of John, 50 years, he confided to me that he always celebrated the Holy Eucharist, except when he was hospitalized in Cairo, in Egypt, following an accident in which one of his legs was severely burnt and by petrol. In fact, they wanted to amputate the leg. They wanted to amputate his leg. But his friend, Sister Masol Bishop, said, no, must not be done. So we were saved. But in normal cases, the Eucharist was indeed the source and summit of the whole life of John. Also, he had great devotion to the pierced heart of Christ, we have just talked now. And the whole part 3 of this book is devoted to this. From the pierced heart of Jesus, the Sacred Heart, Father Marigoni learned obedience, humility, suffering, compassion, and mercy. When he was administrator over the Apostle Jesus and the contemporary evangelicals on the heart of Christ, and when he himself apparently still wanted to still by nature, and paternally lead these congregations, he humbly complied, and without any attachment, he did bitterness, complaint, he left. His holy attachment was extraordinary. He never attached himself to anything. Yeah? John, go away from Lagata. He went away. John, go away from Nakuru. He went away. That was all. That was all. No saying, why, nothing. He went away. No attachment to anything. He's forward. Father John stressed the devotion to the most sacred heart of Jesus. As the first one of the Apostles of Jesus, followed by that of the Immaculate Heart of the Blessed Virgin Mary, as exemplified by the splendid shrines dedicated to the devotions of Lagata there. He always emphasized this is worse. This is worse anyway. But do you hear me please when I talk? Yes, the shrine there is the fruit of this John and his bishop, to the heart of Jesus, to the heart of the Blessed Virgin. The heart of the Blessed Virgin is one. And so they want to leave some patrimony there, so that we can go and venerate these sacred hearts. He also emphasized the devotion to St. Joseph, the worker, to the first Apostle Jesus, patrons and models of the Institute. He also promoted the devotion to the Holy Martyrs of Uganda and African saints and martyrs in general, especially Bakita and Anwarite, those who died of their virginity. Anwarite, killed, murdered of her own virginity. Look, Anwarite here in Congo. Father John was very loyal to the Pope, to the bishops, in union with the Holy Father. Before founding the Institute, he always consulted local Episcopal conferences to approve his own work. He was also very loyal to his intimate friend, Sister Masoli, whom he first met when he was first came to Africa in 1952. Both became juridical and charismatic founders of the 5 religious and missionary institutes already mentioned. Father John always exhorted his spiritual children to respect, reverence, and obey legitimate authority of the church. But that is because of our own fault, of obedience. As I said, it is a result of our own total consecration to God. Bishop Sito Masoldi and Father John Marigoni were great friends in life and death. Not even death could separate them. When Bishop Sito Masoldi was dying on the 27th of July, 1987, he told Father Marigoni to guide the Apostle Jesus and the other institute for the next 20 years, after which he would join him in heaven. You know what happened? Then, this proved to be prophetic, because exactly on the evening of 27th July 2007, the very Reverend Father John Marigoni died in Milan, Northern Italy, 20 years to the day after the death of Bishop Masoldi. You see that is a prophetic word. Exactly 20 years he died. This is what really surprised me. Now, the last words of Bishop Masoldi to Father John Marigoni, that joining him after 20 years, has been fulfilled. A prophet for Africa. There is this book here, Prophet for Africa. Where? You there? Here. This book, Prophet for Africa. Have you ever read this book here? By Silo. James Silo is a Cambodian who was there, who also, he lived with this man. He lived with from the very beginning when they came to Africa. And he wrote this. A prophet for Africa. So his word was very prophetic. Alex also, from the interview also, I told Alex when I went to visit John Marigoni in this last moment. I went to visit him and seeing that he was dying, I approached very closely to him in his dying bed and said, Father, are you dying now? In any case, what do you leave for us, Apostle Jesus? Evangelist Jesus of Mary, contemporary evangelist of the heart of Christ. Yes, these are the words I heard from him. These are the words. Father, tell them, they must be faithful to their religious, priestly, missionary life up to the end. Up to the end. These are the words of a dying person. Faithful to the religious, priestly, missionary vocation up to the end. Bishop Sito Masoldi will be remembered for his charity and generosity. One enduring picture, a memory of him in Langata, Nairobi, at the theological seminary, was his practice of throwing money through his office window to needy people who had learned to wait for him for help under that window. As a bishop in Moroto Diocese, Uganda, he was called a man of good heart, Molo Ejoketao, in Nankari Mojong. On the other hand, very Reverend Father John Marigoni will be remembered for his moral integrity, spiritual passion, and commitment. He was extremely prudent, you could say scrupulous, when it came to be vigilant in matters of chastity or virginity, as he preferred to call it. One of his well-known prudent practices was to greet females, including religious, just with his tips. Was great, even the nuns would answer with his tips, not because he gave them, no. That was his own conviction. his own conviction about that. The Sacred Heart called him Papa. Lord, how do you call it? Abba. Even the evangelists are calling him Baba. Baba is a familiar word. Baba means, I trust in you. I have confidence in you. So maybe the sisters are doing better than us, maybe. By saying Baba. They trust in Baba. They get a great trust in John. They get a great confidence in John. You say, Baba. Our Baba. You know that? In fact, this is in line with what he writes in the books, asserting that the promise of chastity of virgin, which is also mentioned at the next caption of the book, virginity is the one vow that really matters because it is equal to total consecration to God. As I said, the other vows they help me really to keep my chastity, my virginity, the other vows of poverty. You know, I detach myself from these things of this world, these good, very beautiful things of this world, but I detach myself because I am a consecrated person. And obedience, I give my will total to the Lord. Like Jesus Christ. Thy will be done. And when he was there in the Garden of Gethsemane, suffering, his human nature was suffering and was sweating blood. That was his own human nature rebelling against the will of God. He said, no, Father, not my will, but your will be done. And there he decided our salvation in the Garden of Gethsemane. He decided our own salvation. Do you see that? Because he did the will of God. There, in the Garden of Gethsemane. Sometimes we may be sweating because of the difficulties of our own life, of our own chastity. We may be sweating, but please let us say, thy will be done, oh God. You called me. You called me to this life. I love you. Repeat, I love you. You repeat that. I love you, God. It is because I love you, no other thing. And you will overcome. Yes, this is what I have noticed from our own founder and founders. They were truly men of God. Completely dedicated. I personally have no doubts whatsoever that our founders were prophetic men of God. And I was the candidates as Alex, was the candidates for beatification and even consequently for canonization. Yes, that would be a time in which one day maybe I would have already died, because I will remain maybe 10 years now and I die. All right? But I'm sure one day they will be canonized, these people. I'm sure. So let us make an effort, all of us. Let us make an effort. So let us find any chance we pray to these people, that the God may really give us that grace, that one day we will see our founders canonized. Now, but it was somebody, a moment, excuse me, my friends, a little moment. By way of summary, what lessons do we pick from this book that we are going to read? Now we really encourage all of us to read this book, really. As consecrated people, we have to be faithful, very faithful to our family life, and especially to the power of virginity or chastity, which the author sees as encompassing the other two vows. This is very relevant in a world where the Catholic faith and other people are treated to and scandalized by unchaste life of religious and ordained people as narrated in the media and victims of sexual abuse. You have seen that. And we have heard that a lot. America in 2002. The Pope's intention for the month of March 2023 was indirectly in connection with this. It is said, we pray for those who have suffered harm from members of the church. May they find within the church herself a concrete response to their pain and suffering. The author beautifully remarks, only a continuous intimate contact with Jesus keeps our virginity. Friendship with Jesus. Total friendship with Jesus. I love Jesus. I love Jesus, and I love Jesus. That will make us to be faithful. To be faithful to Jesus. That is to live our consecrated and ordained vocation. We have to be people of sacrifices, after the example of Jesus, who saved the world by the sacrifice of the cross. Father John says that without sacrifice, it is hard, if not impossible, to be faithful believers and consecrated and ordained people. Without sacrifice, it is almost impossible to be very holy and saintly. Saints are without fault, without fail, people of sacrifice. And Father John lived that life as I said above there. Without sacrifice, consecrated and ordained people will live a compromising, insincere, and even a mercenary life. They may even rob their flock and by extension, the church. We live in a world that glorifies a soft, entertaining, luxurious life, and this can negatively affect consecrated and ordained people as well. Father John is stressing the training of seminarians in hard work and in sacrifice of the cross, because they follow Christ crucified. Radical following, radical discipleship. That is you, that is me. Radical discipleship. Radical discipleship. No compromise. No compromise. We are called also to live a life of faith and vocation with great devotion to the heart of the Good Shepherd, of course. The devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus is common to all the institutes founded or confounded by both Bishop Sisto Mazzoni and Father John Mangoni. The author's treatment of the heart of the Good Shepherd is the longest of a single topic. Part 3 of this book. You will read it. The heart of the Good Shepherd is perfectly loving heart, totally selfless heart, with no trace of opportunity and mercenary spirit in its love and service. He writes, the Good Shepherd knew tiredness, hunger, thirst, moral suffering, such as rejection, but he persevered. From village to village, town to town, takes his for the Institute of the Apostle Jesus. Love, selfless and uniting love and activity are at the heart of the charism of the Institute in this missionary call and effort to nations. Missio Argentis. We are essentially people for Missio Argentis. To those who have not yet known Jesus Christ. To the Gentiles, of those who have not heard of Christ and his saving gospel. Indeed, the book has a whole section dedicated to the charism of the apostles of Jesus. Yes, it's found here. It's also found here. It was also Tahiba who compiled this. Remember, brothers, he compiled this book. That was the religious missionary of the apostles of Jesus, integral renewal at the beginning of this century. He himself compiled it. And then here you see the appeal of our founder for reformation of our congregation, for the charism of our congregation is found here. And he put it in this one here also. But this was, from the very early century, he told us to reform ourselves, to be really up to date. And that was 7 years when he wrote this, 7 years before he died. 7 years. He wrote in 2000, and 2007 he died. But he already told us, Apostle Jesus, please, make a true reformation of your own lives. Do you see that? So that section you will read it. You will read it. And from the spiritual viewpoint of the correction of the parent is also to the correction of God, certainly. And the book to the Hebrew says, my son, when the Lord corrects you, do not treat it lightly, but do not get discouraged when he reprimands you. For the Lord trains, corrects the ones he loves, and punishes all those that he acknowledges as his sons. Has there ever been any son whose father did not train him? So this father can train us. Let us heed his own call for a reformation. Dear seminarians, I'm addressing the seminarians. And by the way, I want to give my affection to the seminarians, our seminarians now. They are the ones really who survived the decree. And the decree fell on them in a very special way. The decree fell on them in a very special way. Dear seminarians, I admire you. I appreciate you. I respect you. You have faith. They are our seminarians who are now here. You have faith. You have trust. You have trust. And you have love for God. Yes, that I is sure. Many of you left, but you remained. I would say you are the remnant of the decree. Yes, let us go on. Let us go on courageously with faith, hope, and love. There is nothing that will move us. This is the work of God. What we are doing is the work of God. It is the work of this man, Siso Masoldi, and Parajon Marigwani. It is the work that was inspiring them. It will never die. It will never die. Men may fight against it, but never. Yes, as I say, you are that one terrible trial, terrible temptation, but you are overcoming. And we are very happy, and we are very proud of you. Seminarians, our seminarians, all our seminarians, beginning from the last one there, in the man of seminary till now. Because of the decree, I say you are our own future. You are our own trust. We really admire you. You have stood with us in the congregation. And God is going to reward us. Because of your own faith, of your own trust in the Lord. It's not anything human. As I said, our vocation is not anything human. It is the initiative of God. And if God wants it, then we shall go on. On, we go on, without any fear, without any trouble. Only trusting the Lord and being faithful. Faithful to our vocation. Dear seminarians, I hope and pray that you are getting this hard and authentic training in our resumed and renewed formation. Resumed renewed formation. To be true children of God and of our dear and great co-founders, Bishop Siso Masoni and Father John Marigoni. And this book is another very good source to form you into the children of the co-founders. Yes, let us be as children of these people. By following their own teaching, by following their own example, we want to be their own children. As part of the pilgrimage on earth, religious missionaries, ordained priests, people are in forward and persevering movement towards what the author calls something great, better, meaning towards greater perfection or holiness, perfection in living our vocation towards salvation. In other words, the fervent religious missionary priest must always and necessarily labor to make progress. Firstly, spiritual progress, then pastoral and human progress. Pastoral, dedicated, pastoral by Jesus Christ, who is the good shepherd, the heart of Jesus, the good shepherd. Pastoral, we give all to the Lord for our pastoral charity. He or she must be a true and trustworthy laborer in the vineyard of the Lord. Woe to him or her who stops, he says, welcome, dear Father. Very great, very great. Very great. Right. Thank you.
I'm very happy to see you.
Yes, you are the first person. You are the first person that I call here. I said our commissary. Yes. So you are very welcome. It's a pity that you are not going to army at the end of the year. But I also want to say thank you, Father. Thank you for everything you have done for us. Yes. I think that you are part of the mystery of the Lord for our congregation of the Apostle Jesus. Right? Yeah. Here then, we are going on persevering towards what the author calls something greater, something better. To go to something greater, something better, dear believers. You will taste this. You will taste it if you really give yourself complete, and you will be a happy person, very happy person. Perfection in living our vocation, towards salvation. In other words, a fervent religious missionary priest must always and unceasingly labor to make progress. Firstly, spiritual progress, then pastoral and human progress. He or she must be a true and trustworthy laborer in the vineyard of the Lord. Woe to him or her who stops. And he says, very unlucky is the one who stops. The great risk of any religious is to consider his congregation or her congregation as a comfortable house where he lies and eats and sleeps comfortably with total security, without any trouble, without much work, without much need of moving. Hence, the necessity of stressing the dynamic aspect of each congregation. Elsewhere he writes, a chaste heart is a hard-working love. A chaste heart is a love-working heart. It's a hard-working heart. He didn't sleep. For John, there was no holiness for John. No holiness for him. It was all work. All work. But only to make the Apostle Jesus better. To make the evangelism better. To make the contemporary better. To make the Sacred Heart, the Poet better. More and better. In other words, not sitting. He was not sitting. Not lazy, not doing nothing, not wasting precious time, always working. And Father John was a truly hard-working religious, working missionary, priest. I remember just once only when he founded the Apostle Jesus. I remember he went only once home, only once, and only for one month. And even that he was not going to sleep. He was going to meet the benefactors to get some help for him. Only once, but the rest he will spend there. There is no question of Christmas holiday for Marigoni. Nothing. For what? He walked. It would seem he had no time for leisure. For the author, it is simply inconceivable that a missionary can be idle. Hey, inconceivable that a missionary can be idle. Evangelist can be idle. Contemporary evangelist of here can be idle. Or St. Martin de Porres or the Sacred Heart can be idle. No idleness for a missionary. For by foundation and constitution, an Apostle Jesus and the others, as a missionary for African world, they must walk. When his lordship, Bishop Sito Masoli, of happy memory, issued a decree of the election of congregation of the Apostle Jesus on May 25th, 1968, one of the most profound clauses in it was planting the church in mission lands. That is, the land where Jesus has not been explicitly proclaimed. That is our essence, the essence of our vocation, to be missionaries. St. John Paul II said, He gives a secret on the church's missionary activity, Redemptorist mission. Told the universal church that this mission is just beginning. It's just starting. So we have to do that. An apostle Jesus is essential for mission agendas. Mission agendas. For those who have not yet known Jesus. Mission ad extra. Out from your own country. Out from your own country. Mission ad extra. Mission ad vitam. For life. For life. Mission ad gentes, mission ad extra, and mission ad vitam. That is our life. An apostle of Jesus is necessary for missionary, right? And most of the areas that are untouched by Christ are found, especially in Asia, especially in China. Yes, when there was a cardinal who came to visit us, I think in the 80s, early 80s, say you are missionaries. We are waiting you to go to China when China is open. Go to China, go there and evangelize those people there in China, because you are a missionary. It will be as if you are or she had not heard or read the words of Jesus. Jesus, what did Jesus say? Go, therefore, make disciples of all nations, baptize them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, and teach them to observe all commands I gave you, and know that I am with you always to the end of time. This is the great command, the great missionary command. Read this. You get it in Matthew 28:19. The great command for the apostles, for the evangelists of men, for the contemplatives. For the St. Martin the Paul also, and then the Sacred Heart, they are also missionaries now. All right? This is your great command. Go teach, baptize all nations.